Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Christian here. You're somebody that's behind, I would say, like the event to go to in Miami when it comes to marketing and to just being around some of the most influential and amazing people that come in that city. And Possible has become a place that really lives up to its name. You know, it's where a lot of your visions and what you want to create and the people you want to meet, where it becomes possible. And it's been an outstanding event. I've been fortunate to be at the one last year and to be at the upcoming one this year. It's pretty soon. It's in April, which is going to be great. And you're the one that's really been one of the main people behind this whole thing that's had the vision to make it happen. And you've got an extensive experience in this world. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. And yeah, you're right. I'm one of the ones, behind this idea and concept and how we executed this for the last 2 years. As you said, it's going into the third year in coming April, which is still a pretty young event. But
Mm-hmm.
we made a big splash, if I might say it like this, that
Yeah.
we became already a tentpole event for the wider marketing world, which, from my perspective, it includes marketing, media, advertising, technology. And going to Miami or decide for Miami Beach to launch this event was quite obvious because that's a perfect spot for us in terms of connecting marketing, technology, but also cultural topics, and therefore provide a broader variety of content on stages in the different formats, having therefore a broad range of speakers coming every year from the industry, from brands, the big CMOs and tech CEOs, but also celebrities, talents from the entertainment world, musicians, actors, etc., etc. But very important to understand, it's not just to have great names on stage, but also to provide great insights. How they partly invest into companies, how they create their own brand, personal brand, how they run their business in today's world, or the world of the creator economy and influencers. So this all relates very much to the marketing world, and we bring a couple of thousand people together, mostly decision makers, and therefore I think it's fair to say that my vision was, and I think it feels like that we are on our way to become the Davos of the marketing world, because of the relevancy of people bringing together and the decision makers, and to create the roadmap for our industry for the next couple of years.
So, what's your background in this world of marketing and events? Like, how did you build the foundation to go and create an event like Possible?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think it's a good example that you plan your career at some stage, as good as you can, but then it sometimes it makes a surprising turn. In my case, a very positive, surprising turn. Not going too far back in my career, but I worked for AOL and Yahoo long time ago, but also for a long time. And then I founded back in Germany at this time. I founded the National Association of Marketing Companies and Advertising Companies. So I was therefore then connected to the wider industry in Germany and beyond. And at this stage, we said, okay, we need an industry event, right? So it simply didn't exist. That was back in 2002, 3, something like this. So we created a small event at this stage for the industry. It was more a trade show than a conference. And then it became bigger and bigger over the years. And we relaunched this event in 2007. That
Mm-hmm.
was called DMEXCO. I was one of the two founders of DMEXCO, and DMEXCO became the biggest event in our industry worldwide on a global scale. We launched in 2007. Within 10 years, it grew up to 60,000 people, industry people coming from all over the world, more and more from the US as well. And that was one of the reasons why I extended my network so dramatically into the US. And that was the base, of course, for the possible idea a couple of years later after COVID or during COVID. But maybe we talk about this in a second. But just to bridge the gap between DMEXCO, I've sold my shares of DMEXCO in 2018 after 11 years running this show. COVID came shortly after, and during COVID, talking to my network, extensive network, this idea came up. We need something fresh, new, inspiring for this industry.
Mhm. And you were thinking at that point, like America needed to be the base of this.
For me, it was obvious that under these circumstances, and of course with this entrepreneurship in the US, also having access to funds, and funding capital, this only could happen in the US. And also because I like to run a business in the US. I was very much connected to the industry there. So it felt like a second home, right? In the meantime, as you know, I moved away from Germany, which is now 18 years ago already. I live in New Zealand on the other side of the world, so I was used to live in a different world anyway. And DMEXCO was already launched and organized by myself, sitting on the other side of the world. So I'm used to work with a remote team for a long time now. And therefore, that wasn't an issue for me thinking about a new business in the US. Also, not being in the country all the time. And I was super excited about this opportunity that the industry asked and reached out to me, thinking about, hey, we need something new. So I did this. I sat down, came up with the idea, the concept, the vision, and then the name. That it had to be something very positive, inspiring, positive. We have a lot of things to be solved in our industry still, of course, and it will be always the case because of this massive development and influence of technology, et cetera, et cetera. But there are more opportunities than challenges, and therefore I wanted to express this in the final name of this new show. And that was one of the key reasons why we came up with Possible, that everybody can work with this name in a very inspiring, engaging, positive way. And this is what happens, if you look into the titles of the sessions or when our sponsor partners use this, in the run-up of Possible, they use this name very much in their communication.
Yeah, I like the name. I think it's a name that's very uplifting. You see it and you're like, wow, like this is an event where a lot of stuff's going to become possible.
Right.
And there's an amazing amount of opportunities.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's good to be optimistic.
Yeah, and it turned out that it was, I think it was absolutely the right decision to do it during COVID because I launched DMEXCO during the financial crisis in 2007. I started to work on this, which wasn't the best environment to do such a thing. Now during COVID or at the end of COVID, we didn't know exactly how the live event situation will develop, but I was deeply committed to this, and I believe that that's the best time to do something because not many would do it at this time, under these circumstances. So if you launch such a thing, more or less successfully, then you're on the winner side because not many does it, not many do it, and also. I think I also felt that the industry was waiting for something new. This is how we brought it up, and we launched in 2023 for the first time. And I couldn't think about a better location. It's April, end of April, end of April every year. It's the best time of the year to be in Miami Beach, which means best weather conditions, so that you can also execute an idea, that happens inside and outside. And that also provides a lot of different experiences, right? Going to an event, normally you are stuck in a massive hotel complex or a convention center, without windows, being stuck all day long inside. And we offer something inside and outside in a very inspirational and creative way. And that's all together with having an exposition. We call it exposition, which is more an activation space of creative companies, as well as 5 different stages of the conference. The combination of both, I think, is also different to most of the other events, because we provide not just networking opportunities and content, but most importantly, business opportunities, right? We connect the right partners with each other through different programs so that you you know exactly what you can take away from being inspired, learn about a lot of stuff, but also get in touch with the right partners who will help you in your daily business.
So how did you like build the foundation for this? Because you mentioned you wanted to build it in America because you got the access to maybe investors and to the right kind of people. Like what did it take to get this thing going and to build the first one? Like the
Yeah,
right
I think it
partner.
was a unique approach. And thanks for asking, because it reminds me how unique this whole idea was. So I brought at the end, I think I brought nearly 70 individual angel investors on board,
Wow.
supporting me with funding, but also with their network and their experience and their knowledge, because most of them, if not all, um, are involved in other industry events as well, with their companies or being attendee, at Ken Lines and CES and many other events around the world. Means they have they had all great advice. They provided me with the funding, as I said. So there was a great match. Having 70 or so on board required a lot of communication from my end. But I really enjoyed this, right? And with their help and their network and their belief into my vision, um, that was, I think, one of the key reasons of the success.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a unique approach, but therefore maybe more successful than expected.
Yeah. I mean, it's been pretty incredible what you've been able to do in such a short amount of time. I mean, even just the caliber of speakers you had, like year one, was like outstanding to get that year one, and it's not really seen many other places. So it's you definitely know what you're doing in that category for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, going out into the market, not just finding impressive speakers like, Elon Musk and Ali J and a lot of others, also industry leaders, tech CEOs, etc., but also finding the partners, right, and believing into something
Yeah.
which didn't exist at this stage. You shared your vision, your concept, your ideas, um, and seeing that so many partners, but also people believed into
Mhm.
this and were committed. And this is, as I said, this is also, if I might say, a US thing, right?
Mhm.
This is where I feel this could only happen in the US. People believe in your story, and of course they know yourself. With your experience that I did another successful event before. But this wouldn't be possible in another region of the world. At least I believe it. So that was a perfect match. And then we delivered. And also last year was even better than the first year in terms of content and speakers and
Mhm.
more partners being on site, sponsor partners and so on. And this year, I mean, I have to say, it will be even better than the second year and the first 2 years, because we haven't shared everything yet, all the details yet. That will still to come, over the next couple of weeks. But you will see there are more super exciting speaker announcements very soon over the next couple of days, with the full program being launched. We have even more partners on board, showing their expertise and their products and their services and what they can bring to the table. And of course, we're expecting even more attendees, right? We're targeting around 4,500 to 5,000 attendees this year, starting with 2,500 in the first year. Now is more or less double the amount within 2 years, which is, I think, I feel very comfortable that this will be a great experience for everybody on site.
Yeah, it definitely will be. So if you just kind of look back at, just kind of how you've been able to form some of these partnerships. I mean, I've been to lots of different events. You've been really excellent, Christian, at getting some of these amazing companies to become partnered with you, and so many of them. And then also taking care of the way that you have them integrated into the event through all the different stages that you do. How have you communicated to these people, to like a company like Google, or even just other companies, to become a partner of yours? And why do you think they've been willing to become a partner so early on in this company, in the development of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think there are a couple of reasons, not just the one. But for
Hmm.
sure, I mean, it sounds simple and obvious, but let's say it again. It has to be the right vision and idea, right? Where people believe this is good. This is a good thing for us as a company and therefore for the industry. Second, and this is what I think seems to be the biggest difference to, let me say, most of the other events.
Hmm.
It requires a very personal approach and relationship. And this is why I believe into live events. Also during and after COVID, I was, I think, one of the strongest advocates, saying live events will come back even stronger than before COVID, because this is, part of, being a human being, and despite all the technology and that we do our conversation here, of course, also sitting in two different parts of the world, which is all common, but personal relationships and creating new business opportunities. I believe that at some stage you have to be in the same room as people, and look into each other's eyes and talk to another real person in the room. Not necessarily every week, but this is one of the reasons why we are so successful and accepted. And our relationship, I told the team from the beginning on, I want to make a difference, to be more customized, to offer more customized conversations, ideas, solutions for our partners. And that require a lot of more time and efforts, but it pays off because you create a different trusted relationship with these partners, long-term relationships, bringing them in from the beginning on because they believe what you're doing and what you have in mind. And also, delivering what you promised. I think that's very important. So if we wouldn't do this, then of course there would be no more partner, after the first or 2 years. And this is all together. I think the level of personalization and customization, the level of individual follow-ups and relationships, also seeing people from time to time, several times around the year, going to the places, following their travels, being with them at other events, visiting them from time to time at their offices, having a regular conversation, via video calls, etc., etc. This is so important. And again, it sounds obvious, but it requires a lot of time investment, and not everybody is willing to do this or able to do this because of maybe other jobs at the same time. But we designed the whole team and structured the whole team that not just myself, but everybody else in the team spend time with our partners. I think that's very crucial.
Yeah, there's definitely a level of quality and care that you guys have that's very high, and people
It's
know.
trust. It's all about trust, and also, nobody's perfect. Things are sometimes going not necessarily wrong, but not as expected. And then you can also work on alternative solutions with your partners, if you know what their target or what their goals are, and if you have a trusted relationship, and then you can overcome everything. In other words, you can make everything possible. Again, we are back to the name, which is our philosophy, in whatever we do every day.
Why the Fontainebleau? Why was that the hotel to make this happen at?
Well, I didn't want to end up in a typical convention center. As I said, normally it means, you're stuck inside. Second, it's one of the biggest resorts, and a very, traditional one. Of course, everybody who is on site has some kind of relationship to the Fontainebleau, because you spent your vacations, earlier on, or you was there already for other kind of events, whatever. And of course, the Fontainebleau and its management, they've seen the opportunity, to host us. I remember I just signed the contract with them a year before the first event was launched. So, which is in event business a very short period of time, right? Normally you do it years ahead. That was also pretty unique. And I appreciate, those partners, in this case, vendors, who believe into the same thing and take also some kind of risk from the beginning on. And this will pay off in a long-term relationship. And I see ourselves, in Miami for a long time. There are no plans to move away, because it's a perfect spot for us.
Yeah, it's a great spot, and Miami's really had a massive cultural shift over the last couple of years. There's a lot more entrepreneurs and marketers and just business people there. So you really also picked a time where, Possible's grown as the city has grown. And it's really both have grown a lot over that time period.
Right. I mean, you know better than I do because you live there. And as you said, a lot of business people moved to Miami over the last couple of years, businesses as well, opening offices. celebrities, talents are based there at least part of the year. So it's a great atmosphere. It has a perfect connection, not just within the US, but also internationally, especially to the Latin American markets as well. Um, Again, I can only see positive, reasons why we should stay there.
Mhm. I hope you do stay there.
That's a plan.
Yeah.
That's a plan.
So, what do you hope people get out of this year's possible event? Like, what are some of the most exciting, maybe differences from the previous ones that you're most looking forward to people experiencing this time? And what's kind of the goal for people this year to get out of possible?
For sure, find the right business partnerships or business
Mhm.
partners, who can help you in your daily business to overcome the challenges out there, to stay relevant as a brand
Mhm.
in today's consumer world. And second, to be hopefully, be surprised with some kind of content and speakers we are going to present. I mean, I'm not blunt, I know that, not every single session or conversation on stage will produce something exceptional new. Nobody have seen or heard before. This is not realistic. But if we can, provide some moments where people say, okay, this is a new personality on stage I haven't seen before, talking about marketing topics. Or this is a discussion, or a debate, which comes out with some new, ideas or learnings. This is also why we offer so different formats for our attendees. Meeting hopefully every kind of expectation here. Small, intimate discussions, very personal ones. Of course, the big stages for the big keynotes. Our industry partner MMA provides very dedicated content. Our partners as well. Then we have our own team who curates, the programming and ask companies and speakers to be on stage. And we try to come up with new names every year. The hidden stars as well. And as I said, we hope that we surprise some of our audience from time to time. And this is our goal for this year again.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. That was all the questions that I had. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I'm definitely excited for Possible this year. I think there's a lot that people can get out of Possible. It's really an amazing time to be in a great location, and there's lots of incredibly talented people all around you. Whether it's the speakers or even just the people that Possible attracts, it's a high caliber group of smart, successful, hardworking people, and that's the kind of environment you want to be in. So people should definitely take a look at your event, and I'm excited to see what's going to come this year. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me.